family, we have Ben, who's the youngest, fringe benefit. Ed, Beth, she's come all the way from Maine. The next time that you are in Blue Hills, Maine, please stop at a restaurant. The name is Arborvitae. And we have the very special guest of Alfred Morse, very distinguished. I have to tell you one story. He's going to be a little bit embarrassed, but when I think of Alfred Morse, I think of Lorraine Golden. She was treasurer of our organization for many years. And Lorraine always said that when she was at OA in the early 1940s, the most handsome man was Alfred Morse. So it's my privilege to introduce the most handsome man at OA, and I apologize for any other people who are here who are OA at the same time. You must be definitely at least second best. So.
Thank you very much. Well, I suppose I've got to say something about that. So, I don't know what to talk about other than you've got everything there way before I was born. So I guess maybe that I should talk about what happened to everybody after I came along the world. But I'm going to start with basically how corporate here began and what it became, what it didn't become. So way back, my father was running a place called Easton. He was there, and he and Charlie Coker, which was a company, got together to form a big gift corporation. Charlie Coker was the general manager of Boston, which was a Quincy at the time. And he was scheduled to become president of Boston. For some reason or other, they decided not to make him president. So they came to see my old man and said, let's start the beer company. So they started Coker Beer. And they went back and forth, for a while. And then all of a sudden, Charlie Coker died. He was a great drinker, liked women. And I think he died in the hotel room by himself. But from that time on, my father ran the company, and he partnered with a man named George Carl for a while. And then the company was very successful during World War II, and all kinds of other items, and was well run. And about 1955, I guess I came into the picture, and my father and mother decided that they would keep working up to get back to house. So I ran the company for a while, for that time, up until a lot of, I should remember a lot of employees, but with my mind the way it is, sometimes I forget things. However, we ran the company for a while, and I think it was about 1980 that Dad was aboard. And we ran that for a while and had a good time. But unfortunately, by 1990, everything was going to either Japan or Mexico. So terribly, we had to sell both. That's about all I have to say.
Could you tell us a little bit about what you remember about your father, grandmother, and
Well,
also you might talk about OA.
What?
When you remember about OA.
Oh, I had a great time. My family wanted me to go to private school. My sister went to private school, but I refused. And I went to OA and graduated in 1942. And I had a good time. I played football. Not that I was really good, but I got a lot out. But and I played baseball. So I did a lot there. And I went off to my father's sister, so I go off to private school. So I went to Moses Brown. and I got into Brown. But Uncle Sam decided he was people fight before. One night I was with one room at the time, and one time they were gone. So anyway, that's about it. I did a lot of sales in my life, fun things like that. So that Bob was white, cool well. I don't know what else to say.
I remember your graduating, and you had your class trip at the Platinum Hall because it was during the war. Jimmy Johnson was the class president.
Yes, he was. Yeah.
Easton and Bill Clinton, those people.
Oh yeah, you're remembering.
Oh, yeah. I did speak now with Howard, who graduated with you also the other day. So here. Who? Alice Caputo.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
So you remember that.
Oh well, it comes back now that you're helping me. I remember people, but I can't remember their names.
Join the group.
But we had a good time. We had a good time in Southeastern. But when I came to high school, there was a big thing between Southeastern and Northeastern. If you came from Southeastern, nobody spoke to you for the first 2 weeks.
You were on the bonus.
Where did you go to grammar school?
I went to street right across the street from the house where my family was. We used to walk to the school. Even if it was raining and snowing, we walked. That was the time for basically one of the freshmen. So we did a lot of things those days that kids don't do. They don't go to school. But we had to work at school. We had our father and mother that ran us out of the house.
Thank you for your service and all the other things.
Well,
what would you?
there were many other guys that did the thing.
What would you? Where did you serve, or what?
I was a medic. I served mostly. He didn't say what you wanted to do. 1943. You went where the notice was.
Were you or your father on the finance committee at one time?
Yes, I would work. Yeah, I think. I think I was on the finance committee for quite a few years. My father, when I went on, I think my father quit. I'm not sure why it was. All right. Yeah. And of course, I was on Southeast Savings for years. On the board there.
You were on the President board too.
Yes, it was.
You were the one that hired me in 1972.
John A. Right? John A. John Ames was the one that called me one night and he said, "Now, that Alfred, your corporator is not Easton Savings." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I don't care what you say, you're corporator." That's the way it was. And then Charlie McCarthy and I served on Northeast Savings Bank for years. We ran it most of the time, didn't we?
Alfred, I just wanted to add to what Katie said in the introduction. I think that I was at the reception when you graduated high school. Was Rosie or your date?
No.
Oh, the little girl.
Rosie and I were married in 1940.
Reception over the handsome. I don't know if you remember my brother, Morse, and my sister Kathleen Kent were in class 42.
Yeah, right.
And I was upstairs watching you walk around.
Oh.
All 12 years old.
I'm just glad you came out to
Oh, well, it was a great time. I had a great time in Easton. So, but Well, I married Rose in 1948. We were married 82 years. 5 kids, 9 grandchildren.
One great job.
One great grandchild. And another one coming along.
Yeah. Your memory?
Yeah.
So I guess my fondest memories, or some of my memories about manufacturing, reading what's here, and maybe what stands is slowly back. But the stories that I heard, they're I mean, I remember stories of my grandfather rolling the mortar car out of the barn, and they could push it down the street. He didn't have any muscle, I think no one followed it. But he push it down the road with his buddy. They jump in, pop a punch, they go, get down the road in that thing. They go over to Brockton and raise hell and try to raise some of the kids throwing their own car. And, you know, the stories of it going, you know, almost 50 miles an hour. Stories of my dad worked at a farm, spending time on Morse Pond and TV, seeing all the old wagon wheels and behind the town barn. There was a lot of there. Coming up here to Mrs. Manufacturing and what's going on in the building. And then growing up in the Crooked Giggle, I mean, that was stories were incredible. They're all machines. You know, they take you back if you were a kid, but they were all your friends. They go to the south of the back of the park or something like that. A lot of fun going in the manufacturing. That steam engine is probably I was a little amiss when I found it. I'm glad it's here, and I truly am thankful that you folks have it. Because it's something that it was always at a friend's house. We never really had it at our house growing up. And I always marveled at Christmas time we go to Thomas house. We didn't get to garage. And I always looked at it, and I always marveled at it, and always heard stories about what it was. And then finally it made its way back to the family. I used to pull it around, try and get it running. And I think Stan actually was the one that turned the light bulb, put the light bulb on my head. Look at it, right there, and when you know it did. And but it's really quite a feat. All of my Mrs. Ferrella, my history teacher, kept us all her husband kept us playing in the woods out behind my parents' farm, getting in trouble. Spent a lot of time behind your house on the farm. Tiddly. My dad played tiddly, I played tiddly. I don't know how many of you know what tiddly is, but basically it's the end of Lemon Road is right now. There is a section of the pond that comes together and used to be a footbridge to it. And so it's fairly narrow between the two ponds, or the two sections of the pond. And the current ran through there a pretty good flood. And in about, late March or April, the ice will thin up. And so you can see how quickly who could get across and not fall. And then when you fell in, you still be wet, freezing, so you went to the island, you shift up a little ways, and you light a fire, and dry your clothes. And you get back to your grandmother's house, and she looked at you and tell you smelled like smoke, and you must have fallen in the pond. And you were no longer allowed to go up there again. Because your father did the same thing, because you knew what happened. A lot of stories to me. But yeah, I went to work with my dad at the COVID movie, not as great as the cider mill. And we pressed apples and made cider. That was, sorry, Dad, that was the best job I ever had.
You drink the cider.
Yeah, right. I had a great time making cider. Good job.
Those are nice people.
Yeah, sure was. But yeah, started cooking for my dad when I was after school. Then he had one of his guys take me into the morning, showed me how to run a machine. So I learned all about all different aspects of the machine there. So right up until '82, when Dad brought me in the house, I got to learn about engineering, learn the gear layout, learn the whole aspect of that. And things started to falter a little bit. We found we could get out something back in Massachusetts. So hit the road and started some business. And that's about when things really started to fall. Banking industry collapsed. Very hard for manufacturers to get finance because of environmental issues. They weren't allowed to manufacture anyway. Astro gear, Arch gear, Kroger gear, Greg gear,
All of them.
well, whatever.
Well, a lot of the stuff was sent to Japan and Mexico. My big account was General Motors, where we made figures from. I used to go once a year up to Detroit, right? Yeah. And write out a complete order for the whole year. And it's very nice order. But one time I went out there and he said, I'm sorry, but we're not going to get for. And that was almost half of it. And they said, that's one that started. Not fun. But not so much that, it's not fun for my sport. That's the problem.
I didn't have anything prepared.
No, but maybe some of the memories
I
that.
will. I grew up in a family of five. Most of us were girls. Girls really didn't go into the fashion very much. I mean, it was just girls. Guys just, the seniors, background. So, we could do that. So, when we got older, well, when I got older, we never ever thought in my mind that maybe I could be involved in my dad's business. And I was a girl, and you just can't do that. You go off and find your way. So I did, and to this day, I wonder why I didn't continue. So why couldn't I learn how to read the books, or why couldn't I read the book,
I wish you had.
A
lot of pressure.
But I have some very fond memories of that whole industry, and I've been learning a lot of it in my adult years, just reading about things that I never really knew about. And I knew about my great-great-grandfather, and my great-grandfather, and my grandfather, and my father, that has always full of stories. I mean, everybody got a different perspective, but everybody just what's going on and everything. It was really just a very path to keep learning about. I just forgotten about seeing it. About the thread, all those different things in relation. My grandparents, my dad, they didn't really talk too much about, the pond, or go out in the canoe, or, go swimming in the summertime. But, I have a lot of fun with going, especially when I graduated school, or even when I was in high school, they always call me to talk to my dad. So, the secretary, I
I just love her so much.
Well, I forgot to say, she was my right arm, Phyllis Malcolm.
Yeah,
And
so,
Charlie was a
Charlie,
crewmate.
yeah.
I'm sorry, I couldn't mention this on. Without Phyllis, I don't know if I would. Right there from every second. You loved all the girls.
I was very, very fond of her. She was really, my dad and I. And you know, I go out to the factory and walk around. I wasn't really allowed to go into some of the foods, you know, where they have the foods. And they're having, we're cooking challenges. And challenges, you know. My dad was not so you can work at it. So, you know, you just hear it and kind of remember those challenges. You know, I'm just so sorry that it's falling by the wayside now. Maybe someday it will go and it'll become like a legally deal like my dad did. We always say that. Anyway, that's about all I have to say. I'm very, very fortunate to be part of this family. I have a lot of beautiful sisters brother and friends, nieces and nephews and everything. So I'm far away. That's the hard part. So I do come down in November to check on everybody and make sure that they're doing stuff. But I can make it too.
Ben, do you want to say anything or just wait? Or is there one story that they haven't told that's part of the family tradition that you think we should know?
I really don't think so.
You might ask Ben individually afterwards if he has one kind of thing. And we're also honored by the fact that Dr. Stanley Moody is here. His father had one of the famous Morse cars, and he came here once a year in the 1970s. Ed White had an antique auto meet. I think Ed was hoping to come today, but I guess was not able to. And so Dr. J. Moody would bring it. In fact, in back of where Pat and Ken are and Alice, there's a yearbook of 1975, and it was arranged that Dr. Moody, if you could open the inside cover, Dr. Moody agreed to take his car in front of Langwater, and some of the seniors got dressed as if they were going to a prom. And that is, I think, a very special picture of Dr. Moody's car. But I think it shows Dr. Moody's commitment. He not only came here, but we told him he had to go to Langwater in front, and that's going to be on the table. And so we have his son here, who is going to share some ideas also. Dr. Stanley Moody.
I apologize, I was a little late getting here. I forgot how to get here.
We got a phone call. He was on the Sagamore Bridge. But wanted to know how to get there.
But I brought with me, of course, I gave Alfred a tag. I did have it. Good. She might want to. She got the original. She has the original that I made, and that's the tape of the conversation, correct? Between Alfred Bryan was. No, sorry, Alfred. Is it?
Brian.
Is it Alfred Bryan?
No, Alfred Bryan.
Between my father and
Newbert.
Newbert.
Yeah, my father.
Your father.
And your father.
That's right.
Both of them
We
telling-
remembered this, you know.
both of them telling stories.
Well, it's a wonderful tape of about 2 hours of conversation with my father and Newbert. And Newbert went through the entire history of the manufacturing of the car and so forth. Pretty interesting, very interesting. A lot of things to be learned there. And I knew they'd enjoy it. And I had saved that tape. I couldn't remember where I put it. And I went through everything trying to find the deal on it. So the original tape I have, and I made a DVD of it, a key of it, in that case. And I gave one to Alfred. I gave one to Howard Morse, who has the 1902 Morse. He's right here in the Northeastern. Is he here today?
No, he was,
Wasn't able to come.
we didn't do that.
Yeah, I talked to him 2 weeks ago, and he wasn't feeling well. He's got some medical issues. His wife does too. But anyway, he has the '02. Both cars, the 1902 and the 1907, I worked on as a kid. I was 14 years old, as I recall. The 1960, summer of 1960, I was born in 46, so do the math, but around that age. And I don't know why, but I seem to remember getting a ride out there to work at Lester Paris's house. My dad had just bought the Morse. It was the yellow then. He received the car yellow. And it came from John Heston, who was a great friend of my dad. And he had remembered seeing the car at George Waterman's collection of cars, which was going to be a museum down in Newport originally, at the Belfort Castle. And they had all the cars down there at one time. My dad remembered seeing it there. Didn't know anything about it, but I knew it was made in Easton. And he was born in Brockton, never knew about the car, never heard of it before. So he was intrigued, but the next time over, a car was made. He was into antique cars. So when he saw that car, he tracked down the owner, which was George Waterman. And then this man, John Heston, was a salesperson for Waterman. And he decided when the museum fell apart because McKean was a race car driver and a partner in the museum. He was killed in a race driving a Ford, a front-end drive Ford. And when he died, Waterman took the whole museum because there was a lot of money there from McKean as well. And so all those cars, he had about 200 cars. And he collected the best of the best. He really did. And Morses were in that collection. So my dad tracked him down John Heston, and he turns out that John was given those two cars for selling as a he sold for him, so instead of being paid, good commission. George Waterman gave him the two Morse cars for commission, and he said, you do what you want with them, but you're paying me for selling the cars that I want to sold. So he ended up selling the cars to my dad, and my dad was relentless about tracking them down to be sure that don't just sell me those cars when you do. Well, he got into some financial trouble. He needed money overnight type thing, pay taxes, I think it was taxes. So then my dad bought the car, partly restored. I would say back in those days they really didn't restore a car. They took it apart, cleaned it, put it back together, and painted it yellow. And I remember my dad says, I gotta go down and get to the bank. I gotta pay $5,000 for this car. I'm gonna do it today. But he couldn't get the tube. So he didn't know about it too much. He didn't know where it was. Right? And so he went and bought the car for $5,000, brought it to Newport, and then gave it to Lester Parisi with me as his worker. And at 14 years old, I learned mechanic. And he was a very, very fine, retired Navy mechanic, worked on steam engines and destroyers and all that. So I worked all summer, got paid the enormous amount of money, 50 cents an hour. I thought there was a lot of money there. And it was, I guess, for a kid, 14 years old. So I learned everything about that car, restoring it, and we did everything. We took it apart pretty much, and got it all running correctly, and everything was pretty good on that car. I can remember my dad saying, this is the best car I've ever had for a Brownfield. And it was. It was just a finely built car. Everything was class about it. There was nothing less than for putting the best into it. I mean, there were drop boys. You listen to the tape, and drop boys from Germany, all the steel cans from the Trump steel work. And it's just the best to put into the car. And Alfred Brian Morse learned how to temper steel and from the Germans because Trump Steelworks were the first people to know how to temper steel. So he opened up a tempering plant here, machine shop, and tempered a lot of the steel for other people. So he was way ahead of himself. You know, he was a really brilliant engineer. Didn't without any education. Eighth grade. Eighth and ninth grade, as far as he went. And he was able to build a car equal to the state in every way. And the person that has it now is a good friend of mine. And he's a restorer of cars. And he had a collection of Morse. Now, Morse is a very fine automobile back in the day. He had 17 Morses. And he was so excited to get the Morse car. He said, that car is just unique. So he has taken it to a couple of meets. He's loaned the car to me on numerous occasions. For 2 weddings. One wedding, my dad had a car. And his dad's wedding, I drove it for Lisa's wedding. Right, just a couple of years ago. And it had been sitting for about 7 or 8 years. Nobody had driven it. And I brought it up, put it down to Alfred's garage, and I worked on the car because it wasn't running. And I had a fuel pump problem, which I had to take care of there in the garage, just in time for the wedding. Probably finished it the night before. And it was man beautiful for a wedding. Really did. Amazing. Yeah, Chad, drove it, I drove it.
Stan drove up from Newport to South Dartmouth on a, that was how very cold October morning. Yeah, it was a cold morning.
There were pictures on the table of the wedding in the house.
That's right. So the car, then along the way, my dad heard that the O2 one was available. And George Warner had given that car to John Hedden. He didn't tell him too much about it, but he had it. And it was in a museum in Connecticut for storage. You could see, but it's really storage. When we got down there, it was back area. And the fellow that had the car said, oh no, that car's staying here. It's not going anywhere. But he didn't know it. He just was storing the car. So my dad was the type of guy he was. He called him up and said, listen, I'm coming down there with 4 big guys, and we're going to get that car out. The 4 big guys was me. I was only about 18, but I was pretty tall. And then there's movies of that in this DVD that I have, which none of you have seen this, I don't think. You guys have never seen this, but this is a collection of films of me restoring the car with Lester Parisic, the 02 Morse, the 07 Morse, and I'm giving one to the museum table, there's 6 others that you can sell if you wish, and make some money for the museum.
Thank you.
Very well. And you'll enjoy it. You'll really, if anybody has those, you will enjoy the history of it. Anyway, we've had a lot of fun with the car. You've seen parts of it. Probably, did I show a film to you maybe at one time? Possibly.
Hey, we're in the garage, you and your old man, and
Oh, yeah. I took all the film that we took. My dad might have showed me some. Well, I found all the film and I had to put it together. It's not in order in some places, but that's okay. Yeah. But a great picture of the car when we originally restored it, got it in yellow. It was really interesting car. And just going through it. And then I hear all this history on the tape, which I remember. I was at one of those meetings I went to. That's right. And it just was amazing to take these pumps apart and figure out, these are things they're talking about, And it was fantastic. So anyway, the cars, I had the opportunity to buy both cars, but the family, they had put a price on them, and when we had to pay 1/4, one quarter off the price. I had 4 girls in college, and I think the Morse was going to be about $37,500 for me to buy it, and I was paying, I don't know, $100,000 a year for college at that point, for 4 people, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. So the money wasn't there, and nobody else wanted the cars in the family, so they were. My dad said, well, I'm going to put Stan in charge of selling them, and, so forth. So what I did was I turned around to my friends who had money, and they bought the cars at the price that they wanted for the cars. So the two Morse cars ended up in one in Easton, which is good. Howard has the car. Needs to be reworked a little bit. He had a problem mechanically with it, but it was running. My dad had that completely restored later on with a cylinder that had to be made. And that cylinder was made by John Lothrop, who was a machinist for Polarized. Polarized, again, he was a designer, engineer, and so forth to make the cars, all the gears and all that. And he was able to make that cylinder, which matched perfectly with the one on the other side. And it was an offset left side valve, so the other had the offset right. So it was different, but and he was able to, the first cylinder was cast. I don't know how they cast the thing. It had small thin fins on it about that long. Inadequate for cooling it, so it ran hot. And so this other cylinder he made with, by taking 42 pieces of metal and machining out a cylinder wall, and then adding on another piece, welding that to that, and he had metallurgy behind it. He knew where metal was, and what metal had to be tempered correctly for heat and all that. So that was made with 42 separate pieces of metal, all welded together, even the fins were welded separately. And it was identical. I could not tell the difference when we got done. Then we put the car in the hands of friends of mine who were restorers in Pennsylvania, and the O2 was restored beautifully. And I don't know if you ever saw that car, but restored.
Everyone knows the sales car.
Really?
I don't know where I was, but when it came around,
Yeah.
that's the car.
The O2.
It was a play. It looked like a play.
It looked like a play. It was at
And
a,
had square brakes.
yeah, and the passenger sat in front of you.
Square brakes don't work by the way.
Didn't stop very well.
Skidded maybe.
Yeah, but there was only one of those made, the two-cylinder rear engine, air-cooled with a planetary transmission. And it is just so unique. But they got, my friends got that car running, restored. It was beautiful. And my dad just kept sending checks down to these people. He said, "You get a commission for this?" I said, "No, they're just friends of mine, but they're very good restorers." So the car got done. And Howard ended up with the car. And it does need probably $5,000-$6,000 worth of mechanical work to get it running again. Just sits on the road like going back there. After 40 days of tempering, you didn't know. But some damage, but I took it all apart and looked for Howard, and I looked at it, and I said, "This is what needs to be done." And I set him up with John Lothrop to fix it. He's the best guy to do it. But he was getting old. And so he suggested somebody else. So it just sat, and the car is sitting there. I think it's partly apart. Probably the way I took it apart in order to do it, so I taken it apart originally. But I know what's wrong with it, and it can be fixed, but it would take further money. So anyway, all the cars are available to see, I'm sure, but I've been trying to get the other Morse to buy it back, and I can buy it. The only problem is it's the cost of what it is now. So we're talking $195,000 now that car. So it's up there. And
Then you might mention that you were trying to get into the Heritage Museum.
yes, the Heritage Museum is willing to do something. They have money there now, right now. So they were thinking of partly pot donation, pot cash, that type of thing. And but the museum has the money to do something along that line, and then I'm chairman of the car committee. So I'd be willing to, loan that car out anytime to get the car and be displayed down here or something. Be cool. So we'll see what happens.
What's the price of the car? $195,000 today. What was it when it went out? February? Yeah, $75,000. $5,000.
That was the original price. My dad paid $5,000.
But
afford at the same time.
Yeah.
Put it in perspective. But everybody that knows the car, says people who were Mercedes of that era. I mean, phenomenal. I mean, Frank them all. Yeah. There you go. That's quiet when we can see. Yeah, it is fabulous. But it was just the crank in that is a block of steel, and it machined it out. So the thing is perfectly balanced, along with the camshaft. Perfectly. So it's just there. You put coffee on the fender. So that's it. So we're trying to get it. We're trying to get it back if we can. Maybe a little while, but Fred, I'm sending him copies of all this. So thank you. Good side of Fred, and I can borrow the car anytime. It's a long way to go and get. But we'll see what happens. So I think you'll enjoy these DVDs. Everybody wants to see how the restoration of the car went. And I'm glad I came. Good.
Thank you so much. Yes, before Frank says a few things, I just want to remind everybody that next Sunday at 2 o'clock, we are going to have Steve Taylor, who's done extensive research in England about the Ames family there, and then about the struggle of William and John as they come. And he's going to explain his research, what he had to do for this extensive book. There are handouts right at the door, and hopefully everybody would be interested in coming next Sunday, 2 o'clock, at Frothingham Memorial Hall. Anybody have any other comments or stories that you suddenly remember that you think we should hear? Silence is not always
Question.
but anybody any general questions?
I just want to point out a few things with Veterans Day right around the corner. Alfred Bryant Morse, the builder of the car, and also the teenage builder of the steam engine, had 100+ patents, I believe, who was named very successful, including lace making machines, which were the finest and possibly the earliest American-made ones, I believe. But of the materials that came from developing the car, two pieces in particular helped to win the war effort for the Allies in World War I. One of them was the AE Universal Joint named for Alfred Bryant, very successful, and the Navy installed those in their World War I submarines. The second is the flash and disc oil system. You see drawings of the oil pump there that was used in the Liberty airplane engines in World War I, adopted by the Army Air Force. So we owe them a great debt of gratitude for their inventions that really helped to through the war effort for the United States.